If no one seems to understand what you went through, even when you try hard to explain it, that's not a failure on your part. It's a feature of this kind of dynamic. And once you understand why, you can stop needing anyone else to agree with you. If you're here, you've probably tried everything. You've given examples, you've explained it from different angles, you've tried not to sound too dramatic, and still you get responses like, relationships are hard. Have you tried talking to them? It doesn't sound that bad. How about therapy? No one's perfect. But have they physically hit you? And then you walk away feeling worse, not just unheard, but even more confused and subtly doubting yourself. Because instead of helping you make sense of it, those conversations subtly pull you away from your own experience. So let me say this clearly. If people don't understand or believe you, that is not proof that nothing happened. It's often proof that what happened doesn't translate into our mainstream society. There's no headline incident. Most people understand harmful relationships through one big event. Obvious cruelty like physical or sexual abuse. Something dramatic and undeniable, having concrete evidence. But the dynamics that you're describing doesn't work like that. It's subtle, it's covert, it's hidden. They work through slow repetition over time, gradual erosion, subtle shifts. It's not one moment that sounds shocking. It's what happens to you after months or years inside of this dynamic. That's why when you isolate one example and you try to explain it, it never sounds that bad. Because the harm isn't in any one moment. It's in what happens to you gradually, slowly over time. And that's why people describe it as a slow erosion, sometimes called death by 1,000 cuts. The pattern is the harm. We're taught to explain events, arguments, incidents, but coercive dynamics don't live in those single events. They live in patterns, repetitions, outcomes, impact. So when you try to explain and you pull one example and the listener responds with logic, what they hear is, oh, that sounds like a misunderstanding. Well, that happens in all relationships. But you're not describing an argument. You're describing a system. You're trying to explain a pattern using event-based language, and that almost never works. The person often looks great to everybody else. The person causing the harm often looks charming, reasonable, generous, emotionally articulate, calm, stoic, confident. From the outside, they may seem like a great person, but behind closed doors, they are a completely different person. So if someone really believes you, they have to rewrite their entire picture of that person. That's deeply uncomfortable. It's often emotionally easier to doubt you than to confront that contradiction. Disbelief is often about their comfort, not your credibility or your truth. Believing you threatens their worldview. There's another layer most people don't talk about. If someone truly believes you, they don't just have to accept what happened to you, they also have to accept something uncomfortable. That harmful dynamics don't always look obvious, that they can exist very quietly, very subtly, without explosions or big headlines. Believing you would mean questioning their own assumptions about good people, their sense of safety in their own relationships, and their confidence in spotting covert harm. It would also mean facing this could happen to me too. That's a lot for people to take in. For many people, denial is cheaper. Minimizing you protects their worldview, and that choice has nothing to do with your clarity, intelligence, or worth. This isn't common knowledge yet, even for professionals. Another thing that really matters is that subtle coercive control is not widely taught or understood. Many of my clients come to me after years of therapy or coaching where they felt something was off but couldn't get help naming the pattern or understanding it. Not because those professionals were bad or had ill intent, but because this kind of harm is so subtle, contextual, and rarely taught or understood. Our culture often looks for overt abuse, clear labels, and trying to diagnose people, obvious villains, and this dynamic doesn't fit neatly into those boxes. Here's what I want you to take with you. You don't need anyone else to agree with you to trust yourself. Being misunderstood is often part of these dynamics, not evidence against them. Your clarity cannot depend on others, even with somebody who's holding a PhD in psychology. It has to come from what happens inside of you, what happens to your clarity, what happens to your body, what happens to your feelings, what happens to your sense of self. That is where your truth lives. If people don't understand you or believe you, even when you explain it as best you can, that doesn't mean you failed. It means you're describing something that our society doesn't have good language for yet. And that's why your next step isn't about explaining it better to those around you. It's about trusting yourself more. Even knowing all of this, something can still happen. Because when the people you care about don't understand what you're going through, it's normal for self-doubt to start to seep back in. Not because you're wrong, but because you're human. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to stay grounded in your own clarity, even when no one else believes you or validates you. Watch that next.